Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Ethical Hypothetical, the show where we discuss hypothetical ethical situations. As the name suggests, I'm here with Hara, Alex, Steph, and Jake. If you saw last episode, you would have already been introduced to Steph and Jake. But in case you didn't, Jake and Steph, tell us a little bit about yourselves really quickly. Jake, you go first.
Sure. I work in marketing in the legal industry. So that's what I do. Steph?
I am a stand-up comedian.
Awesome. Beautiful. And yes, Steph was on the recent episode of Comedy Down Under. It was one of the... Well, we got two of the featured stand-up acts here.
Oh, yeah.
Alex and Steph. So check them both out there. Hara also did a bodybuilding competition recently. I think we've talked about this in previous episodes.
Yeah,
she won. She won. And she got a pro card. And
yeah, I know you can't
jacked.
tell.
So she could beat any of us up really easily.
Yeah.
No, it's just for looks. It's just aesthetics. We can do a push-up competition.
Very
How many
intimidating
push-ups can you do?
aesthetics.
My max is 50, but you have to keep doing them. So I haven't done it for a while. So I can do 30 now without stopping. But
Like real ones?
hey,
Like real push-ups? You can do 50 real
oh
push-ups.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, no
Yeah.
knees, no nothing.
That would be funny to watch someone like as jacked as Hara is just do knee push-ups.
Oh my god. Yeah, nah. Cool.
When's your next? Are you going to do another comp, you reckon?
Yeah, I'll do national because I didn't think I was gonna win a pro card at all. Like I was not expecting it. So I would like to see myself in a more, I guess, difficult level and just one more challenge because that was my first time I ever competed. So for Steph and Jake that didn't know. So yeah, I'll do one more national. If that went well, which I don't even know, I'll take it higher. But let's just keep to the national for now.
Or natural?
Yeah,
Alrighty.
next year.
Well, good luck. Do not envy the
Thanks.
diet that you're going to have to endure.
Oh, let's not talk about this now. I'm too busy binging right now.
Well earned. Well earned. Alrighty, so the last one we talked about sexual harassment. This one's all about religious freedom. So, actually, it might... would any of you consider yourselves religious?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I'm not non-religious or agnostic. Like, I think, I used to go to church until year 12. So I think I'm more religious than probably all of you here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're comedians. Well, three of us are comedians. There's nothing religious about that. So, okay.
Yeah.
I would like to just make a note here. I came up with this topic after the guests were chosen, and maybe we'll do another religious freedom one in the future where there's actually, 3 of the 5 people who are actually religious. So here we get 4 non-religious people and 1 kind of religious person talking about religion. So
Let's do it.
enjoy.
So it's like every other
All
podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, so close your eyes. Just raise your hand if you agree with the sentence I say. So, should people be allowed to question religion? Raise your hand if you agree. Okay. Next one. Should people be allowed to criticize religion? Raise your hand if you agree. Okay. Third one. Should people be allowed to mock religion? Okay. All right. Should people be allowed to discriminate based on religion? Raise your hand if you agree. All right. And now this one's an open-ended question, so you can now open your eyes. So this is more of a broad question here. If religious values go against the secular laws of a country, what should we do about that? So what I mean by that is, say, there are certain doctrines in a particular religion that maybe go against the more modern or more current secular ethics of a given country, certain laws and things like that. A very sort of salient example would be something like, gay marriage and LGBT rights and things like that. What should we do as a nation if there's a large percentage of people who have different ideas about what is moral, and that comes from religion? What do you think we do about that? Now, before we get to your answers on that one, for people being allowed to question religion, you all raised your hand. People being allowed to criticize religion, you all raised your hand. Mock religion, you all raised your hand. Hara, you were a bit iffy on that one.
Yeah, I was very
but you
iffy.
did raise your hand, it looked like.
Yeah.
And then for people being allowed to discriminate based on religion, none of you raised your hand. So you all pretty much had the same answers. But Hara, let's first explore your
I think
uncertainty
it depends.
answering the
It
one about.
depends. Mocking religion. I think it depends to the extent. Like, I like memes. Like, it's so funny. So I used to go. Because my parents are not religious at all, because we come from a communist country, or previously communist country, so religion was not a thing. So my grandparents are not religious, my parents are not religious, and I grew up in Greece, which is not, because my parents are Albanian, so Albania used to be a communist country. So anyway, I grew up in Greece, and I used to love going to church by myself since I was like 5 with some old ladies. Like, I've always just enjoyed going to church, right? And my parents are not religious at all. And I'm not even Christian. Like, I'm not baptized. Anyway, so then when I came to Australia, yeah?
Just real quickly, how do you even start going to church then, if they weren't religious?
I used to live close to, like, across the church, because, like, the way where we used to live in Greece. And so, yeah, on Sunday, like, the bells go, yeah, you can't sleep in on a Sunday. And yeah, I'll just go. I remember going to church with old ladies. Like, I used to enjoy, like, it's so weird. Anyway, and then I stopped going for a short period of time. And then, like, year 9, I started going again when I was in Australia. And then until year 12, and then I kind of stopped because I started questioning. I was going more for the mindfulness of it. Like, I've never been extremely religious or anything. But when I see memes about Jesus, like, I laugh so hard, but there is a deep guilt inside me. Like, I don't even know why.
Like a true Christian. Sounds like you're still religious.
I know, and that's why I was so iffy, and I was like, oh my god, like, this is just, I don't know why, like, because and I'll share funny memes about religion, but inside me, there is one little voice saying, if you go to hell, this is the me that's gonna.
Do you think that if Jesus was around, do you think Jesus would appreciate memes? I think he might.
Oh yeah,
Jesus would love
like
memes.
for Judas and stuff.
I reckon Jesus would be so fun. I think he would.
He
right?
likes
That's
his
the whole point
wine.
of him.
He's like,
just from turning water into wine, yeah.
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 He's written as this, like, this guy is sick. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that happens with when something is really good, then the fans suck. Like, and I know I've used this.
That's a good way of putting it.
I know I've used this before, but it's like Rick and Morty, where it's like Rick and Morty is a good show, but the fans are awful. Or like the people that love let's say
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's a good comic, but the fans suck. And I'm a fan of Joe Rogan, right?
I'm a fan of Joe Rogan.
No, this is the thing.
No, but like the identity of the fans is the
people that make it their thing. Because you can be a fan of Joe Rogan and a bunch of other things, but I mean the person that goes, I'm just a Joe Rogan head dude. That's me, man. With the t-shirt. Same with Rick and Morty. The people jumping on the McDonald's counters being like, give me this Szechuan sauce. Whatever the fuck it is.
Making it your personality is pretty cringe.
Making your personality sucks. So the people that take Christianity and make it their personality suck.
Yeah, you can be a
You know what I
fan
mean?
of Jesus and be cool, but that's not how
Yeah.
people perceive fans of Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I just think if you met Jesus, you would be like, this guy's dope.
Yeah.
But the people that love
Yeah.
Jesus, like, sometimes suck.
Took it to
I've
the
met some that are
extreme.
great.
Yeah.
Like Rowan Thambar last week. He's a Christian. Very cool dude. Very cool, very well thought out, very accepting, very loving person, hardcore Christian. But that's not the image that we have in our heads of Christianity.
Do you think, Alex, that image is a stereotype, though, in the same way you might think of Muslim and you immediately some people might just think, oh, terrorist.
Totally, yeah.
And that is a very small, or it's a small percentage. Similarly, yeah, most of the Christians that I know personally are nothing like that extreme Bible bashing protesting at an abortion clinic type at all. That actually does seem to be a stereotype.
It's always, and it's the same thing with anything, is the loudest ones are the only ones that you know about. And the loudest ones are usually the awful ones. Because I also think the stereotype of a Joe Rogan fan is that it's a stereotype. Because most people, I mean, you can't be that big and not, like, we all know someone or do ourselves listen to Joe Rogan. But, like, the stereotype of a Joe Rogan fan is so awful, but it's a minority.
And I feel like it's
And
more
so I
in
think
America as well.
Yeah, it seems like, especially if we're going with the religion thing, that's where it is. Because
It's closeted too. I feel like that kind of stereotype forces people, like, because like people don't admit that they listen to Joe Rogan. It's the same with religion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
It's
religious
actually-
people that are like, oh, I better not say I am. You know?
it's actually
See, I
a
don't
perfect
understand
metaphor.
why.
True.
Guys, I think Joe Rogan is actually Jesus.
You might be Jesus.
I think we solved it.
It's more
Don't
than-
boost that man's ego anymore than it already
Coming.
is.
No, but I think it is the same thing where, like, the loudest minority make the thing look bad.
Yeah.
For sure. There's the same thing with, I mean, there's stereotypes for atheists too, but
Oh,
most
yeah.
atheists that I know are not that, weird.
Yeah. Not every atheist is Ricky Gervais
Yeah, exactly.
on every late night show being like, you believe in God? You're an idiot. It's just-
Yeah, true. I have that in me, though. I have that, like, angry atheist in me that I'll just revert to. If I hear something like that, just pisses me off. I'm like, well, you believe in a magical man in the sky. Shut up. So I'm trying to get that out of me. So coming back to, just before we get to that last question, mocking religion, and then also that question about discriminating against someone who may be religious. I think we're all thinking about, say, the big religions like Christianity, Islam, Judaism here. What about something like maybe a New Age kind of religion, or one that's a Mormonism, or even a smaller one like that? That some people could just perceive it as a cult, or Scientology. Do you think? What if you are an employer or something, and maybe? Well, I think we've talked about this on a previous episode, but the Israel Folau case comes to mind, where he expressed views that are from the Bible on social media, and then he was fired. But he also had a contract that he breached. So, what are the lines there? If you're an employer, or if you might not want to work with, say. Because, Steph, you're a graphic designer, aren't you?
Yeah, I do that as well.
So what if, like a very strict sect of Christianity came in, and then you looked at their ethics online, and they are that stereotype. They are that really extreme version. And then they were like, hey, we want you to make our logo or something like that. Do you think you can say no in that situation?
I mean, in that situation, yes, because like it'd be my job. Do you know what I mean? So like, but if I was hiring a graphic designer that had those values, I don't know if I'd be able to say no based off that. If they were the best person for the job, that's tricky. But in terms of like me as a freelancer, I can just be like, I can say no to anyone. Yeah.
Jake, what do you reckon?
It's a really tough one. I guess I haven't really thought about it too much, but I suppose I haven't dealt with anyone with any extreme religious values in the workplace or anything like that. I think Australia in general is a much less religious country than America, for example.
Less openly
So
religious.
yeah, and people get along pretty well and are chilled out about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because when it comes to obviously, if you as you said, if you're hiring someone, then it shouldn't matter at all. But I'm trying to think back to what the original question was.
It was a pretty broad one.
I don't know if you're allowed to ask, are you? I mean, I assume
don't think
that's
you
not
are,
part of
yeah.
that I'm imagining you wouldn't be
Yeah,
allowed to even ask someone that.
No, you're not. But obviously, this is just hypothetical here.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking. So they'd have to be quite loud about it for you to be aware of it, was my point. So in that case, maybe
Yes.
you are allowed to be like, no.
I guess it also can come down to like what the topics we're talking about are. Like you mentioned gay marriage, and that could, if someone was very open about their strong opinions on it, it could somewhat come across as maybe even hate speech or something, depending on what they're saying. It's really tricky. You just sort of, I guess, hope that everyone's pretty down to earth and normal about their views on things like that. But
So, where's the line there, though? Because it can also happen the other way. Say if you worked at because I know there's some people in Catholic schools and things like that. There was recently, if I remember correctly, there was recently a LGBT teacher that was fired, or was maybe they had been told they were going to get the job and then they didn't get it. There was something a bit iffy going on there. But do you think a religious school like that actually has the right to say, well, look, we're trying to, you just your lifestyle just doesn't fit with our values?
I feel like they shouldn't have the right to say something like that, but I guess it depends on what exactly they were talking about and what the issues were. Or is that their issue just that they were LGBT? Because that seems ridiculous to get fired for something like that.
Yeah, look, I don't know the exact details of that situation, but let's say hypothetically that's what it was. You're found out to be, you've just been quiet about it before, but then the school finds out this is a very strict religious school, and then find out that you are gay, and then they decide to fire you. Should they have the right to be able to do that?
I think if your teaching isn't affected though, like it shouldn't affect your employment. Like if you're still teaching history or maths, like what you do in your bed shouldn't affect your teaching methods. If you are LGBT and you preaching and forcing it down the kids' throats, haha. Sorry, that was a bad joke.
There you go, Hara.
Sorry.
Catholic schools.
Yeah, exactly. Like it shouldn't affect you if your teaching, is none.
Yeah. That's a good point, because it's like you're gonna teach Shakespeare anyway, and that's the gayest shit out. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's like all those old teachings and stuff, like all those old, like really like the novels that we're all into, or you have to teach at school, all semi-homoerotic anyway. Like, you're not gonna tell me there wasn't something happening between Lenny and the other guy in Of Mice and Men. There's something's going down. But regardless, I'm saying it's what I think Hara is. That's exactly it. That's the answer to me as well. Is if it doesn't affect the teaching, why would it matter?
Yeah, and if they're willing to teach the values the school requires, even if it does become about that, do you know what I mean? So if they are someone who's in the LGBT community, but they're willing to teach a religious class that it says that we don't agree with that, then they should be allowed to work there.
Yeah, and also the values, I think of...
Oh. No, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that the values of gay or non-gay people should be the same anyway. Like the basis of society, whether you are, regardless of your sexuality, shouldn't affect, like all the values of schools. None of them really say be don't be gay. Like they say, be respectful, show love, like whatever, like all these values, but none of them are specific to sexuality. So it shouldn't affect at all, I think. Unless you get in
I
a
think with religious
conversation
schools,
about
they
it.
do teach religion as a subject. So
Oh yeah,
it would be part of the
but that's
it would
the
be part of the
subject.
course.
But that wouldn't be one of the values of the school to not be gay. Like it would still be like it wouldn't affect at all.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
How about let's go back to the mocking thing. So recently in France, just last year, a teacher was showing his pupils a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
And this was a cartoon that was made by a satirical organization. And a couple of years ago, there was then a mass murder that occurred within that organization due to the depiction of the Prophet, which is forbidden in Islam. And this teacher was actually just trying to teach the kids about freedom of expression and showed the cartoon, didn't actually draw the cartoon or anything. And one of the kids, and these are kids who were, 17, 18. These weren't primary school. One of the kids then went and beheaded the teacher. And then the president, Macron, had a very strong stance against that. And, at one point, I think he sort of projected that cartoon onto a skyscraper to really say, look, in France, we do have freedom of expression. And, you have freedom of religion, but that particular value that the Prophet can't be depicted, you can't then force that onto everyone else in the society.
Can I just add?
Because that was a clear, like that they were just mocking the religion there.
Can I just add?
What do you guys think about something like? Yeah.
Sorry. So in that scenario, what happened is the teacher actually had said to whoever it was Muslim, they could leave the class if they didn't want to be in it. So they had even given a disclaimer. And the Muslim person stayed in, it was, I'm pretty sure, a girl. She stayed in the class, I think. But then she was telling her dad. So then the person that did the beheading was some person from Chechnya, like a minority from Russia or something like that.
Oh.
But they had changed the information, like they lied about it or something. So there was like, it was completely unfortunate. Like it wasn't even from a person that was in the class that happened. It was, yes, a hearsay kind of thing. And then after Macron's response, and then after Macron's response, like a lot of Muslim countries were having like trade wars with France, which I thought that was ridiculous. But
there were protests in Bangladesh, and
like all around,
sort of visceral reaction there.
Which
now, what do you think about something like that? Because and some would say, so. Should you have the right to mock a religion that does have a value that says it's forbidden to depict our prophet, especially in this sort of compromised or unethical depiction? And what do you think? Do you think the government should actually put in laws for something like that? So, for example, is that hate speech? Where do you guys stand on an issue like that? It's a big.
Who wants to go first?
Well, no, I think tell me if I'm, because I'm trying to make sense of this, and I know that it might even sound like too simple of an argument, but does it come down to just the country that you're in? Because in a country, I feel like usually in a Western country, isn't that the first thing that we go by, which is everyone is welcome here, therefore everyone kind of gets it. Like it's like you can freedom of expression, but also freedom of speech. So you can do whatever you want to do, but it's allowed to be criticized, and then you're allowed to push back. Like, but you're not allowed to behead someone for it. You know what I mean? It's like this is what we've built our value on. That's the melting pot. It's we're all together. We're sharing opinions and ideas.
I totally agree. It's like, we're all welcome here and to have your views and everything, but our laws are important, obviously, and our laws come about because of our culture and what we are as a society. We vote on things and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I totally agree. You should be able to, and especially if we want to talk about mocking, if it's also for comedy's sake as well. Like obviously, I think it'd be weird to start putting restrictions on what people can say and what people can joke about. That's a whole other thing too.
So the guy that did the beheading, I assume that he was not exonerated because of religious reasons. Is that like he would have had to go to jail, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it sort of seems like the whole thing played out within the laws of that society. I mean, as much as it's a horrific thing that happened, because someone did something that was legal, the response to it was illegal, and then that person was punished. So I guess when it comes to that kind of thing, it's like you can say and do whatever you want, and there might be consequences. So it's always going to be risky. And I'm not suggesting that, that's an acceptable response to what happened, but you do have to be mindful of that when making choices to do things that may offend people. That's just part of the package, I guess.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose of freedom of speech? Because I thought freedom is like, what is it? Is it Stalin that said that one time, where it's like, I like freedom of speech, but I can't guarantee freedom after speech. And it's like that defeats the point of freedom of speech.
Well, there's a difference between verbal consequences versus physical consequences. So you can say offensive things, and then people can
criticize,
cancel you, or criticize you, and call you a bigot or whatever. But the line for me is very clearly crossed when it becomes violence.
I think that's
100%. But but I mean, this is not victim blaming. I'm just thinking out loud. Personally, I'm never going to do that because I don't want to get beheaded. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm making that choice, but I'm not. I would always want my legal right to be able to do it, but personally, no, not worth it for me. But for some people, it is worth it because they have a point they need to make and they feel strongly enough about it that they're going to risk that consequence. Because that's not within the rules of our society, but it doesn't, just because it's not within the bounds of society doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We can't control that part of it.
Speaking broadly then again about freedom of speech, because we've got three comedians here, the Dave Chappelle special has obviously stoked a lot of controversy and strong opinions on both sides. First of all, I'd be very interested. What are your broad thoughts on that? And do you think, I'm going to guess both of you, well, actually, I don't know, but do you think Dave can have a right to say whatever he wants, but then everyone else can protest and can say they're offended and whatever? And I know now we're sort of going away from religion here, but it's still, to me, it's still related. It's tangential because if a comedian came out and said very incendiary statements about a religion, there may be a similar sort of response. So,
well, I think it sort of still fits in because it's like, it's not an old religion, but it's a modern religion. Like, I think we've talked about this before, like movements are new religions.
That's interesting. So woke culture is a form of religion?
I think woke culture is, I mean, yeah, I'm sure someone can discredit that, but I feel like it's just this other thing that we've attached ourselves to.
Yeah, and it's becoming,
it's like a new religion
people's
to me.
identities, like Christianity or any other religion.
Steph, do you want to go first?
Sorry?
About the Chappelle spot. Oh, is she gone?
We've lost Steph.
Just lost Steph.
How about you, Jake? Did you watch that special?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I've been meaning to watch it. What was the just like overview of the main controversial points he made?
Well, he basically just made jokes about not even LGBT, particularly the trans community.
Of course. Okay.
And then there was a walkout from Netflix. There was an employee walkout, and one employee leaked some metrics of the special, and that employee has since been fired. And then the CEO was saying, well, we have a diversity of comedians here on Netflix, including Hannah Gadsby and others, and then Hannah Gadsby made a statement saying, don't, put me in the same boat as Dave. I'm very different. And it's just a mess. It's almost like comical now how big it's become. And I think maybe that was intentional. I do wonder if that was intentional. Oh, all right, she's back.
Sorry, guys.
That's all good.
All good.
Because it's just generating so much noise, and everyone now is going to go and watch it.
That's the thing.
Part of me wonders where was this designed to be this controversial, to just get that many people viewing it.
This is my opinion on the whole thing, and I feel like because Neil and you and I talked about this already a little bit, and I think we sort of came to the agreement that it wasn't a good hour. Like in terms of a comedy hour. No, like it's not, and he's also seems confused through it. Like there's a lot of points that he makes that are kind of like you said this of like they're not new, they're not that deep. It's just a very strange hour, and I think we don't have to look at it like it's like this for everybody needs to see this. You know what I mean? We can also just equally treat it as okay, it was just a kind of a whatever hour. Fuck it, bro. Like, treat it like we treat everything else that's bad and just ignore it. Like, because the thing about giving it any more attention, all this airtime, everybody talking about it, all these articles, you're just driving more people back to it. And it goes back to that old thing, which is like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And if you're indifferent about someone, it takes all the power away from it.
But don't you think the fact that it received all of that by default makes it good? Do you know what I mean?
Good.
Like,
I don't think
maybe
controversial
not a good...
means good, but was it funny? What did you guys think it was funny?
No,
it had funny lines.
It had a couple lines in there that you'd be like, oh, that's good, but nothing to write home about. Like,
pretty,
I put it in the same category as like Nanette and Inside by Bo Burnham in the way that it sort of people were like, "Is this comedy?" Do you know what I mean?
Or is
that's
he
the
basically
conversation.
doing a TED talk and trying to make some jokes?
Yeah.
And that's what,
and in that way, it was very successful.
Totally,
because it was
it's just Nanette for the other side. Like
pretty much, yeah.
It really is. It's Nanette for the other side, and the same thing is happening that happened with Nanette. Like
exactly.
A bunch of people are like, "No, this is sick," and then other people are like, "No, fucking stupid." Like it's just
and they've changed. They're reversed.
Exactly, it's the same thing happening again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll tell you what, the one thing that I was thinking about today about it was because a whole part of like the criticism is people being like, "We're not offended. It's just not funny." And it's like, well, dude, if it's not funny, just treat it like we treated like fucking Kevin James's Netflix special, and just fuck it off. Like, don't reward it. Don't talk about it. I think we're all I think most of us agree, it's not a funny hour. Like, it's an interesting thing to watch, kind of to be like, okay, what's everybody talking about? But I just walked away from it being like, I'll tell you what I felt like. Hey, everyone gets old.
Yeah. It was bizarre. But my big gripe with it, and I guess maybe, Alex, you're right, it's giving it more airtime, which is just generating more attention to it, was that it's now sort of this, you can no longer have the position of, hey, no, I wasn't offended, I just didn't find it funny. It's now assumed that you were offended if you didn't find it. Like, oh, you didn't find it funny, August, you're a snowflake. No, I actually just didn't find the jokes very good.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, is what... And then I do get offended by that. Like, the idea that, like, if you don't find it funny, you're a snowflake. Well, fuck you. Like,
I'll tell you, it's because now there's, like, this culture of... It's like this... There's this massive culture of people that they hang their hat on at the end of the day of being the guy that can take the joke. Like, I'm really into dark humor. You know what I mean? Like, it's that same dude that his thing is that he can eat spicy wings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I can just eat the spiciest wing. It's like, that doesn't sound pleasurable.
But they will also get offended by other things. But there will also, these kind of people that you're saying, the people that are the anti-snowflake people, they'll get offended if you attack them or if you comment on something that they value as important. And I've experienced it firsthand.
If you say...
Yeah?
They're hypocrites.
Totally. I was just going to say, the right-wing version where people are like, oh yeah, you can't take a joke, and then you make a joke about the Anzacs. See what happens.
Exactly.
Like,
or
it's
like
all-
vegans of
It's
food.
all what you
or-
care about.
Yeah, because like what happened with me is because
Yeah.
I can take a joke, but I commented once, like I think I've said it in a different podcast, but it was one, during the mice pandemic in the eastern states of Australia, there were a lot of mice around and a lot of videos of mice. So it was more of a meme between me and my friend, and I just commented like on channel 7 or 9, stop posting these videos, they're traumatizing because I hate mice so much. And all these like people, you could tell from their profiles, they were like the typical Joe Rogan fan that we were talking about before, or like, oh, you're
dirt
a
bike in
pizza
their profile
lover,
picture.
and you vegan, like you can't, like, you know what's traumatizing, being a farmer. And I'm like, I don't even care about the welfare of the animals. Burn the shit out of them. I don't want to see them. It's not, I don't care about them. I was being so sarcastic. I responded. I got like 50 or 60 comments I did not expect. I was like being so sarcastic with all of them. I was like, nah, actually I hate them. Like, just burn them all, or like whatever. But it's exactly the same.
It's very
people.
frustrating.
They were calling me a snowflake, but they were being the snowflakes.
Yeah. It's very frustrating, isn't it, when someone, you make that one comment and people all of a sudden have assumed so much about you from that and put all these things in their own head about you that aren't true. That can be very annoying and frustrating to deal with. Yeah.
Neil, you were going to say something?
Just really quick, going on Alex's point, like the barometer of whether it I guess, is someone who, is a comedian and has been doing it for quite a few years. It's frustrating whenever people are judging comedy based on something other than the actual craftsmanship of the joke, right? So then people are judging the quality of the comedy based on like whether, how controversial it is, or just whether people can take it. Like, yeah, I love comedy because like I can take dark jokes. Well, just because a joke is dark doesn't mean it's a good joke. And there's such thing as a bad dark joke and a good dark joke. And a bad dark joke, if you don't find it funny, it doesn't mean that you're a snowflake. It doesn't mean that you're offended. It just means that, all right, I just, I didn't find it that funny.
Yeah, well, it's also like a bad dark joke hinges completely on shock value. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so you can just hear fucked words the best. Is that what you're saying? Like, you can be like, oh, yeah, no, I can hear fucked words better than anybody. It's like, the whole point of this is it's supposed to be, like, a good joke. And, like, what makes a good joke isn't, the fact that you get to the worst place the quickest. It's about, like, okay, oh, shit, I didn't see that coming. Fuck, okay. All right, nice. You know what I mean? And can I really quickly, to bring this back to religion, like those dudes in the comments and stuff like that, and these people that hang their hats on these weird things about their identity at the end of the day, is this what happens when a society loses religion?
Yeah, well, that's the big question, isn't it? Because do humans have a religious impulse? And if they do, without Christianity, for all the flaws something like Christianity or Islam may have, it's sort of been tried and tested over thousands and thousands of years to obviously have some value there for humans, especially humans who are suffering, because, when there's a war, when there's a famine, that's when people tend to turn to religion. And are these sort of new ideas becoming, you can't tell me there's just as much passion and zeal towards politics now as there also is towards religion. There are definitely people who make politics a religion, a tribe for them. I think there's sort of healthy tribalism. Like, if you love a sports team, I mean, if you're going to sit there rioting and have fights with people, that's taking it too far. But other than that, you can obsess over a sports team and, be really irrationally attached to a sports team. It doesn't really affect society. But when you're irrationally attached to other things, namely politics, that's where it's dangerous. And I wonder if it is just like filling a void that the lack of religion has created. That's the big question.
I think it's a community thing. I think that's the element of religion that we do crave as human beings. I can't speak to whether people need religion because I'm not somebody who has that need. But I think the pandemic definitely taught everybody what happens to human beings when we're removed from our communities. And I think being part of a community of like-minded individuals on the internet, where you can be so specific with what you feel and find people on the other side of the world, you know, because that's a new phenomenon. You couldn't do that before. So just being able to find those niche communities where you find those people that agree with 99% of your values, while it might feel good, is probably extremely unhealthy. But I do understand that desire to be surrounded by people that, you know, feel the same way you do about things.
Yeah, because we can create our own echo chambers now. Like, we could just go to a place and be like, this is where everybody agrees with me. Whereas you couldn't really do that 20 years ago. Like, you had to be part of... Like, you still had... You know what I mean?
Well, you could in church, but it wasn't up to you. Someone just told you what they were and you went, okay.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But it was the same sensation. It was like, we all agree together. We're all this. We're a community, you know?
Yeah. I guess that's it. It's a community thing that religion brings along.
Yeah.
And like you said, Neil, it can be healthy or unhealthy, depending on what you attach to it.
That collectivism.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think,
broadly speaking,
like, personally...
you should definitely have the right to criticize and mock and all those sorts of things. But yes, you can't then be protected from the verbal consequences of that.
Yeah, but personally, I just want to say that I think with religion, though, I think comparing religion to other parts of like groups of identity that people attach themselves to, I think religion is one of the healthiest ways to go about it, filling that void of connectedness, I guess. Because obviously most people don't take religion to the extreme. So if you take it to the normal, you know, I think it's good to have those basic values of societal, you know, respect and whatever for cohesion. And yeah, I personally I respect religion, and today it's harder and harder to find religious people. So because religion has been replaced by politics or by veganism or other identities. So I don't know. I just personally think that religion would be the healthiest way to go about it. Huh?
Yeah, because it's the only one with I'm saying because religion, of like all the things to attach your identity to, it's the only one that has being a good person baked in. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, can I say the vegan thing? It's also the extremes. Okay, there's also like this 1% that just like ruin it, but it's actually pretty healthy.
I'm sorry.
Totally agree. It's always the loud ones that you see that are just going to ruin it.
There's like ISIS vegans that go and like, they go and like take a pig's head to KFC or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas 99% of them, you wouldn't even know they're vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bloody stereotypes.
I think I'll tell you what, I think that's it, is picking the religion, whatever it is, whatever your thing is if it makes you happy, fantastic. I think this is it. What we all agree on is if it makes you happy, then do that thing, as long as what that thing isn't fucking with other people's happiness.
Exactly.
Which is why there was such drama, I guess, around the gay marriage thing when that was around, because, you know, people on one side would be saying, look, you know, everyone should have equal rights, and then one side saying, well, our religion says X, and it's like, well, your religion's actually getting in the way of people's happiness, so.
Yeah, but then, you know, when it comes to the mocking... Sorry.
Go on, Hara.
So when it goes to the mocking, though, and like, you know, how some religions can be a bit more strict with freedoms of, you know, speech and everything that you can say, like, where do you draw the line of, personally, if I was a person that was extremely fanatic with my religion or extremely religious in general, I personally wouldn't move to a country that's more liberal to what I can tolerate. And that obviously can't be enforced, but I think you should take the responsibility to, if you think that every woman should wear a burqa, just don't move to a country that women don't wear burqas. Like, I know it's very easy to say, but like and I feel like it's a bit of a controversial opinion, maybe, I don't know. But I just think that with the beheading, like, you know, if you think that people should not joke about religion, why are you there? Like, go back to where no one does it, and you'll be happy. Like, you won't have to behead anyone.
Yes.
Like, it sounds really bad, but seriously, like, it pisses me off.
I mean,
whereas the opposite sort of thing happens with
You're not wrong.
you know, that whole thing recently with all those people trying to grab onto the planes leaving Afghanistan. It's like the opposite of that. Where
Yeah.
they're like, get us out of this country that's so religious.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Hara. I think that's a really good point. But I mean, I don't think they should leave, but I think you have to work within the bounds of the society that you're functioning in, and I think that that's part of it. And yeah, so in that sense, it's like, you know, just you don't have to change your values because no one's judging your values, but you do have to.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't have to impose. The thing is it's not fair to impose your thing onto the wider group, especially when you're coming into it. Like,
Yeah,
I feel that way
exactly.
going to parties in Newtown. You know what I mean? Like, there are jokes I don't say when I'm at a party in Newtown because I understand
100%.
where I'm at.
There's jokes I don't say at parties where they're under 20.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I understand where I'm at. You guys are having fun. I'm not going to fuck with it. Yeah.
Okay, the thing is, like, if you were coming back to just full circle, we'll wrap this one up soon, but, like, okay, we all agree that people have the right to criticize religion. So why don't religious people then have the right? Like, we all agree that, okay, beheading and all that is way too far, but, like, why don't religions have the right to criticize secular values, to criticize LGBT values? Because if
I think
we're
they
saying
do.
we have the right to criticize them, don't they then have the right to, you know, what if they made if I don't know, there's a religious satirist who then made a cartoon of, again, I keep coming back to the gay thing, and there's so
Adam
many
and
other
Steve.
issues, but like Adam
Yeah.
and Steve are like, this is disgusting. And then they're going to hell, and they also it would be hypocritical to say, oh, you know, we have the right to criticize them, but they can't criticize other people. That would be hypocritical. So I think in a liberal society, well, a society that tries to be as liberal and secular as possible, I think that actually that is the case. They do have the right to say those things and do those things, and protests and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
true.
Exactly.
I think
I
they do.
agree.
And you know,
And they have to deal with the consequences.
yeah, if they want to go and, you know, say, I think that in Australia we should be beheading people, then most of us will say, no, actually, sorry, that's not what we're going to do. But you can have that opinion, but that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, no, they should be allowed to say what they want, but then everyone else can say stuff back. And it's, as we said before, it's about the laws, and that whole sort of is decided collectively from us.
But it's also with what you said, Neil. The PC culture comes in, and also, you know, if let's say I was to say something anti-gay, let's say, because we're using this example now, because let's say you're very religious, say something anti-gay, and an anti-gay person gets so traumatized, or, you know, it can come into that and how you're affecting their mental health or their well-being. So I guess interfering with one's well-being, so they could be used in that sense. Maybe that's the counter argument, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's a
But
fair
not
very
counter
triggering.
argument, because if we're saying, okay, you can be free insofar as it doesn't harm other people's happiness. Well, happiness is very subjective, because there's some people out there where every little thing said to them will harm their happiness. So I draw the line with, like, physical. If you're physically harming someone, and a direct physical harm, that's where I would sort of say the government can step in. But if you're upsetting people, if you're mentally harming them, maybe this is
but
harsh,
it's
then
becoming
people
more and
have
more.
the right to mentally harm people.
But
That
it's
sounds
becoming.
bad, but, like, they have the right.
I agree, but it's
doesn't mean I necessarily agree.
But it's becoming
Yeah,
more
no,
and
I think
more
as long as you're
subjective, everything right now, like in how we deal with people and people's comments. Unfortunately.
Maybe you have the right to express yourself if it doesn't interfere with someone else's freedom. Maybe that's the, you know,
Sure.
rather than happiness, because no one's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can't make everyone happy. Someone's always going to not like you, and you know. Sorry.
No, you finish. You finish
I
your
was-
point, Jake, please.
I was just going to say, like, if we go back to the Dave Chappelle thing, if you get really upset by that, don't watch it. Like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
If something does upset you, you don't need to, surround yourself with that at all.
But like, where do you draw the line with something like that? So can you say, oh, well, Nazis have the right to speak their mind, just don't listen to them?
That is
where's the
interesting one,
line
yeah.
there?
Well, this is the thing, though. Nazis led to actual violence.
Yeah.
So we already know, like, these guys are fucked. You know what I mean? Like, the brand of Nazi isn't very open to interpretation.
And, if someone does go out and start doing speech like that, I think like 99% of people are going to be like, you're fucked. So, yeah.
They didn't in Germany. They didn't. And it was only, 70, 80 years ago.
But what is this crazy? Is the next Nazi, whatever the next Nazi is, we're not going to see it as violent immediately.
That's maybe, because it's all dependent on if there's a population that is starving and angry and they have that sort of resentment and bitterness, then, a political movement can play into that. And
it takes one charismatic ruler.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because that's the thing with the Nazis. No one saw that shit coming. So whatever the next thing is, if it comes again, we probably won't even clock on that this could lead to violence. You know
just
what I mean?
Murder every charismatic guy with a moustache, just in case.
Jake, you're gone.
Fuck.
Sorry, bro.
Sorry.
Well, I
it's
think
for the greater good.
I think that maybe we will be more conscious about it. Like, I know that a lot of people, when Trump was in his term, a lot of people were talking about that sort of thing and how he sort of has little indicators of fascism and things like that. There was massive discussion around all that. So I think maybe we're better at seeing the possibilities of that, but who knows?
But the thing is, there's also a sort of antithesis to that, where in fighting fighting modern Nazism or fighting fascism, which have now become such broad terms, it justifies violence, and then that's also very dangerous, because well, then if fascism and Nazism can just sort of be slapped onto a broad range of political ideas, and then those ideas are also then conflated as violent ideas, then that justifies violence against them, for example. So I think any movement that's there, justifying violence in the name of defense or in the name... Well, I mean, if it's clear self-defense, sure. But if it's sort of this broad term of harmful speech, and, okay, we can be violent towards people who are harming us with their speech, that's where I find that very dangerous. I think if it's if there's any sort of justification of violence, I'd be very skeptical of it. And that's something really good about religion in its, I think, purest form. It's a very non-violent ethos, and that's why I love people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King. They achieved their aims, and they made sure non-violence was such a major part of what they did. And people died as a result, because there were sort of Indians protesting basically just that we're going to be non-violent even if you attack us. They actually, I heard Martin Luther King, he would sort of he would get his followers to actually beat up on other followers so that they would practice never retaliating and never being aggressive back.
Wow.
And that's very noble, because it's so easy to retaliate and to be aggressive, and to really train yourself to not do that. I think that's really ethical. But what do I know? It's nearly been an hour. So any concluding thoughts on this one? I suppose it started with religious freedom, but then we're talking about just freedom of expression in general. Hara, hopefully we haven't taken you away from your internship too much.
My assignments, no, it's fine. It was a really good conversation.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Any final things to say?
Just be nice to people.
Yeah, I think that's it. At the end, it's like empathy. Like, you know what I mean? That's
just do that all the time, and it should be okay.
Yeah, I think what stops you from getting angry at a lot of people is being like, if this were me, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it is kind of a cop out, and it feels
No.
like, but you know what I mean. I really do think it's like if this were me, what would it take for me to get where this guy is right now? And I feel like when you put
Exactly.
yourself in that sort of thought process, you can understand a little bit
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not immediately retaliating.
Mm.
Choose love.
Yeah. Hashtag Jesus. love thy neighbor.
Yeah, bro.
There you go, yeah. Love thy neighbor. Alrighty, thanks for being a part of it, Jake and Steph.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
No worries. If you would like to be on the show, email Alex. And I know a few people keep emailing us saying, when is there a spot that's popped up? We will get to you when there is a spot. So we can't email everyone who's constantly coming back asking for a spot. I'm sorry. I know that sounds mean. But thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this a share. And we'll see you next time.
All right.